What's up, good people? What's up, good people? It's your boy, the Impact Builder, Leroy McKenzie Jr. coming to you. I know I was here just yesterday. I know I was here just yesterday, but the grind don't stop. The grind don't stop. It's the author showcase brought to you by the National Black Unity News and JNF Enterprises. We are here to bring you some of the most I can't just it's some of the most innovative, creative, impactful, influential authors, writers, and so much more than just the books that we talk about in the author showcase. And today is going to be no different than any of the other conversations that I've had with the authors I've been privy to sit down with and talk with, because as you all know, it's more than just about their books. It's more than just about their books. They have so many great messages, their missions, their motivation, the movements that they are a part of. It's just, it's just been really wonderful. Yesterday, talking with author Black Diamond, talking about the foster care system, and this young lady that's here today too. Y'all gonna love this. It's just here's I enjoy talking to certain people, and I enjoy talking to certain people about certain conversations, and I do that because of what they exude from them, the energy that they bring to you. And this young lady here is no different. The energy that she brings, and just the influence and the power that she brings, y'all gonna feel it in a minute. So I want y'all I ain't gonna say sit back. I'm gonna say sit up, grab your pen, grab your paper, because I promise you, you're going to learn a couple of things that you that you did not think that you did not know about yourself, and that you might not have known about the opposite sex. Because we're going to be talking about her books that she has out, and y'all know why I said that in a minute, because they are just two great books that are both reflective, and then also give us a scope of what we need to look at and look about from a overall perspective. So I'm going to introduce her by her name, and then I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about who she is. And she is none other than, she's an author, and tell you all this too. But she's an author. I had to write this down, Jewel. She's an she's an author, a Reiki master practitioner. Did I get that right? Did I pronounce that right?
Reiki.
Authenticity coach, and a visual storyteller. So we're gonna get into all of that right there. But I'd like to introduce you all to the author of Dear Black Man, Dear Black Woman, and that's Miss Jewel Guy. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Miss Jewel. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm wonderful. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's great to have you here. And I can't wait to have our conversation. I want you to start off just by telling the folks just a little bit about who Jewel Guy is, and kind of just bring us up to what you're doing nowadays.
Sure. So I always think about the question of who am I,
Mm,
and also about how we often are asked to tell about ourselves, and what is
mhm.
our initial response to telling something about ourselves. Especially as women, I know we're so used to being able to adore and adorn people with all of these other accolades and things, but when it comes to ourselves, we often shy away from, or we don't know. And so I'll start by saying that I am a multifaceted human being. Everything that I do is about the frequency of healing.
Mm,
And self reflection and self awareness, accountability, and responsibility. And I want to also say that it hasn't always been like that. I was an engineer by trade. I went
okay.
to Morgan State University, graduated in 2007, and practiced engineering for 7 years. But all
Okay.
the while, I knew that I was supposed to help people. I just didn't
Mm,
know how to do that. I always found myself being in a place of counsel, being a go to for people, even in the midst of going through my own stuff. But people found comfort in me. And so After I got married, I started really digging very deeply into myself, because when you are in a relationship that you are challenged by in a good way, you begin to see a lot about yourself that you may not have noticed by yourself. And so that is where this journey of self-reflection and self-awareness began. And also just trying to find different ways to help people heal, even if they're not going to read this book, right? So then we talk about Reiki master teacher, right? That talks about aligning the energies of your body and working with the chakras, right? And really about awareness about what is going on the inside. What are we feeling? What are we experiencing? And how are we paying attention to those things? And Leroy, we talked a little bit before about, that rest time, actually taking the time to step back, to rest, to realign, to re-engage with the highest part of ourselves. So just finding different ways to reach different audiences. I mean, as a visual storyteller, I'm a photographer, a videographer, and a documentarian. And so I'm working on my first full length documentary film with another organization here in Baltimore called Fight Black Be More, that is founded by Nika Namdi. So we're really excited about that release in June. So it's really all about empowerment, self-awareness, education, so that we can be better people, just one step at a time.
Wow. And that's what, if you don't mind me asking, what specialty of engineering did you do?
Electrical.
Oh, okay. Now, how do you go? How do you go from being studying electrical engineering to doing the things that you do, as far as the Reiki practitioner and the visual storytelling? How did you go from that?
So what's really interesting is that I think around like the fourth grade, I wanted to work in computers because I wanted to know how stuff worked. And so I was interested in the inner details of how things work. And so after being an entrepreneur for about 5 years now, I have learned that it isn't quite that different. The theory might be a little different, but the principles are still the same. So we went from being an electrical engineer to being somewhat of a social engineer, where learning about the psychology and the behavior of people. I'm also a life coach, so understanding and a mediator. So what it takes to listen, to understand how our implicit biases come up, even when we don't think they do. And so really just using similar principles about being detail oriented, reverse engineering things. Okay, you're here right now, but how did you get here? What's back here? What's in these steps before that got you to this result? Because this might not be the problem. It might be back down here in step 5. So using those same types of principles and also learning different ways to approach the emotions and trauma and things like that. I'm not a therapist, but I learn about the things that in the therapy practice, because I just want to be knowledgeable about what I see. But I think just it's using similar principles and just allowing myself to transition, because that's a part of judgment too, right? You're in this great career. That's what I heard all the time. You're in this great career. You're a Black woman. You're making money and all of that stuff. But I learned a while ago that money is not the thing, right? It's nice. It gives you more options. It gives you different options. It might have you experience different things, but unless the purpose is higher, I'm not going to be fulfilled. And so that's really what I wanted out of a career, to really be fulfilled and see the fruits of that labor in people, and people being able to spread that.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things, and one of the books that I wrote, one of the things that I found in my conversations was there were so many people that were on jobs that they absolutely were so unhappy on.
Yep.
They really were. They were going basically just to collect the paycheck, just to get, just to have the money to be able to pay the bills and do, but they were miserable. And I even remember myself, there was
Yes.
a time, Jewel, I literally hated waking up in the morning because I
Me
had to
too.
go into this job. And I was just like, no, this is not the way that it's supposed to be. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to be that. I mean, that, and even when you get to that level, you can never be as productive as you should be.
Ever.
You won't. You will never be. You will never be productive. I don't care
True.
how hard you try, because you literally cannot stand being there. So your mindset is just okay. As soon as you clock in, is it time to
That's
go
right.
yet?
That's right.
It really is. So it's great to hear you talk about that, and that you followed your path to your happiness, because you have, like you said,
Yeah.
you may have celebrities, you may have those folks that are making a lot of money, but they're
Yeah.
not happy.
Yeah.
They have access to doing, to everything. They have access to resources to do whatever they want to do and everything like that. But at the end of the day, when they come home and they got to sit
Hmm.
with themselves, especially during a pandemic, they're not
Yeah.
happy. They're
Yeah.
not happy. So I think that that's great that you talked about that. And then one other thing I want to talk about too,
Sure.
you talk about the correlation between the processes of an engineer,
Yeah.
then now making that applicable to what you do, which is in theory the same thing, because I went to school to be my major was hotel restaurant management.
Okay.
Loved it when I initially went into it, but got burned out. I mean, I'm putting in hours and was just miserable. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not killing myself for somebody else when when I can do what I want to do and be happy with it. I don't mind doing the hours I do now,
That's right.
because they for me.
That's
I'll
right.
put them in all any day, all day,
Hmm.
because those are for me. So, but the some of the applications and the skill set, like you talked about, the engineering skill set that
Yeah.
you have, and figuring out problems, because
Hmm.
y'all deal with math, y'all good with the numbers and stuff like that, and everything. So y'all can break, because I was never good in algebra, never good in trigonometry, all that stuff. Y'all can have
Yeah.
all that, but the theories of
Yeah.
how you get to a particular answer. That's what,
Yeah.
I love that you talked about that. And being an entrepreneur, even being an author, is the same way too. I know I want to tell this story.
Yes.
So how do I get to telling that story? Here's
Hmm.
what the end is, but how do I get to the end of that? How do I bring myself from the beginning to the end of that story? So I
Yeah.
love that you talked about it like that. Now, what got you started in writing? What got you?
So that's really interesting. So the first book that I actually published was a photo documentary series called Show Your Love.
Oh
And
wow.
that's
Okay.
when I first jumped into the entrepreneurial life. So I left my engineering job and went straight into photography.
Okay.
And I wanted to not just take pictures of people, because anybody could do that.
Right.
But I wanted to really start getting to know the stories of people and
Mm.
Black couples in particular. Because at that time, this
Okay.
was before Black Love Doc and all of that stuff came out,
Okay. Okay.
earlier actually that year. Um, if you typed Black love in Google,
Mhm.
you wouldn't see all of these beautiful Black people come up. You
Right.
would see Black
Right.
and white photos of white
Right.
couples. And
Yep.
so I was upset about that. And so I said, I get tired of seeing other people happy, but I know that we have richness in our own lives and our own communities. And so I ended up interviewing about 48 couples
Oh
um,
wow. Okay.
to to talk about their love story, their challenges, their trials, their triumphs. And so I took pictures. I did the dictation of interviews, formatting with the help of my good friend. And so that was my first book. So after that, Dear Black Men was the first book that I did like real pen to paper.
Okay. Okay.
And that came from just having trouble with communicating inside of our marriage. And that was probably the first year to year and a half or so of like trying to understand each other, trying to learn each other, and really running into the walls of expectations and assumptions that weren't communicated. And so I went into this place of learning. Okay, instead of being defensive, instead of being letting my assumptions run wild, why don't we sit down and why don't I listen to hear? Because my husband is what I called at that time, the over communicator. He's the one that I want to talk about it right now. Let's get to the bottom of it. And I came from a family where we didn't talk about stuff. Like, all right, it happened, let it go. We're not going to talk through all of this stuff. Right. Or you never knew that it happened, right? And you find out decades later that something went on. And so I was very good at observing, but not sharing. And so in the beginning, I was the one listening. And he was like, listen, I need you to tell me what's going on with you. Like, he would point out the things that I did that were really challenging to him, or that rubbed him the wrong way, that just wasn't conducive for our relationship. So whether that was like faces that I made at him, or the way that I spoke to him, or the way that I assumed he was supposed to do something, instead of just asking the question, right? When we do that with somebody we meet that's like new, like, ask them, well, what are the things that you like? What are the things that make sense in this relationship for you? What did you learn? Like, we don't have all of that. 9 times out of 10, most of us aren't really going in with this nice line of questioning that we can truly understand what is going on or has gone on in the life of this other person. And so that's where my first writings came from, was really trying to understand what my husband was experiencing, also Black men in general, because I had interviewed some other brothers and other Black men in the community about similar things that we had talked about amongst ourselves. Because I was like, I need to see if what you're saying is like across the board, or is this just a me or you thing? So, and I started seeing similarities, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. Something is happening. We're not communicating in the way that we can hear to understand each other. And a lot of times Black men were suffering for it, right? I started putting up questions on Facebook in 2018 to Black men specifically, in the form of Dear Black Men. And one of those things where, like, forgive me for never apologizing, right? And expecting you to, because that was something that came up over and over and over again. Like, we don't get apologies. It's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, or, let's all right, move on. Let's man up, or whatever it is, whatever the response is, right? But never really acknowledging what that man felt. And so through topics, I started writing through a book. I probably filled up like 8 pages worth of affirmations, questions, and apologies. And every time I was about to write something, I would go to my husband, like, okay, how does this sound to you? Because what I didn't want to do was, I didn't want to offer advice. I didn't want to tell anybody how they should feel. I just wanted to be in the posture of listening, just to hear, nothing else, just to hear. And then at the same time, I was going through mediation training. So I was using the techniques that I was learning in mediation to also ask more open-ended questions, because what I learned was open-ended questions help you dive deeper into the actual situation, because you could ask one question and it could be surface level stuff. Right. But if you're paying attention to what is being said, you can ask another open-ended question and it could break the dam, right? So that's what I started to do. I started putting those things into practice. And once I started seeing that men were really engaging, I was like, wow, this is something that like men across the country and around the world could possibly use, to whether it's gaining closure, whether it's for their own self-reflection, or whether it's just to be affirmed. Like, I asked men, like, when's the last time someone said, I believe in you? Wow. And even when we've been like at the flea market, we would ask people that all the time, and they're like, I don't know. Yeah. And we would stand there and affirm them. Listen, I believe in you. I'm proud of you. I see the hard work that you're doing. You're doing a great job. Like, don't give up on yourself. Like, and to see what that did to him just in that moment shows you how impactful that is. And so that's where the first book came from, and just wanting them to have that, wanting them to know that, you are loved. You are appreciated. And some of this stuff that we have done to affect you, we weren't taught about this stuff. We weren't taught to be emotionally intelligent or anything like that. We've been taught a lot of different things. So I just wanted to start opening conversation about just being open and vulnerable and accountable for the stuff that we do, even if it wasn't our intention to hurt.
Wow, that's powerful. We'll get a little bit more. I told y'all this conversation was going to go there because this young lady is just powerful. Now, now you said you've written 3 books because that's the Dear Black Men,
Yep,
Dear
Show
Black
Your
Women.
Love, Dear
Okay,
Black
Show
Men,
Your Love.
Dear Black Woman. And Dear Black Woman is with my husband.
Oh, awesome. Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay, awesome. So that's cool. Now, was there a difference between writing the Dear Black Women series and then doing the Show Your Love? Because I know you said that was a pictorial. Did you approach them a little differently in how and to get the outcome that you wanted to get?
Yeah, so I think so Dear Black Women was a little bit similar to Dear Black Men. So as far as like formatting the book and wanting to still have apologies, affirmations, and questions inside of that was important. But this one was so different because I had to be the centerpiece this time. I had to be the person to start looking into myself and say, what is
Wow.
it that I need? What are some of the apologies that I wish I would have gotten? So I asked my husband, basically begged him. I was like, listen, people have been asking us about a Dear Black Woman book. And at first I have in my author's letter in the beginning, I say that I honestly dreaded this day because I felt inadequate. And I think the way the society positions us or makes us feel, it always makes us feel less than. But what I do understand and what I wrote is that the power of our stories bring us together. And so by me sharing, going down the line of things, like I am now standing in the gap for me and women like me, right? So whether it's the women who have been sexually abused, women who have been a part of domestic violence, women who have been in relationships and they haven't been able to communicate their needs, or just all these different things. So I tasked my husband to come up with apologies because I said, in Dear Black Men, I was the one apologizing because I felt like that needed to be done.
Right.
I said, what I would like you to do is to apologize from a Black man's perspective. All of these things don't have to be something specific to you. However, let's start looking around, researching, thinking about some of the people that we've talked to, that we have been engaged with, and let's see some of those things that keep coming up. And one night we did we call it power hour, so a power session. And I was like, I think we can get this book done. Like, let's sit up, let's get these apologies done. And he was going through some apologies and some hit me so hard, I was just angry.
Wow.
I was angry and I was just like, I know that's a good one because that hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. Like, even to think like, is that the reason why you did that? So I wanted it to be real, not a gloss over apology, but specific. Don't just say I'm sorry for, but why? Why did you do this thing? What was going on for you? And every apology in the book may not speak to the specific reason that Black man had done that, but it's a start. And so I wanted Black women, first of all, to feel seen and acknowledged and heard, because for so long we always talk about a woman being behind and all of that stuff. Listen, a woman is powerful in and of herself. She is a creative being in and of herself, right? And I feel like when we start acknowledging the humanity of each person in and of themselves first, then we can start, and first doing that for you, right? Honoring, who you are, the divinity inside of you, your creativity, all of these different things. If I honor that about me, then I can honor that about somebody else. But if I'm having trouble loving me, if I'm having trouble affirming myself, if I'm having trouble just surviving, I can't think about you. So giving us the space to actually dive into us. What are the things that we aren't talking about or haven't had the space to talk about or haven't had the invitation to even talk about? Let's talk about that. Because many of us don't have the invitation. Who's saying, let's really talk about this and want to know? The greatest example is that when people say, how are you? Or in the street, how are you? How are you? That's not telling me anything. That's just all right. I acknowledge you.
And
not
we
telling
as
me how
men,
you feel. Yeah,
we
go
as
ahead.
men, no, just saying, and we as men greeting each other, we, we'll say, "What's up? I'm good."
Yeah.
I'm good.
Right, and even us, I'm fine. I'm fine. But we're not fine. We're not, right? And so I think we were just thinking about this weekend about what is the role of Dear Black Men and Dear Black Women.
Okay.
And it is to create tools, right?
Okay.
To give people the tools to begin having these impactful and necessary conversations. First, with yourself, to self-analyze. And then you might want to bring a partner in. Then you might need to bring a brother or a sister in, right? But to do the work for you first, which is a lot of times things that we don't hear. Oh, I got to do this for this person. I got to do this for that person. Right. I got to make sure everybody else is good. But what about you? So putting you in the forefront of your own care. And then being able to take your time and go through these questions, affirmations, and apologies at your own pace to begin the healing work that some of us don't even know that we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you told us a little bit about, I guess, what made you want to write Dear Black Men? And then, like you said, you came to do the other part. But I want you to talk about the initial writing of Dear Black Men. And did you feel like you had to write Dear Black Women?
So it started from marriage, going through our own personal problems, interviewing some other people about it and seeing the similarities, and then going through with doing it on Facebook every day. Literally almost every day. And seeing what that feedback was like and seeing that this was something that was valuable to Black men specifically, because that if it wasn't valuable to Black men, it didn't need to be anything else, right? The whole purpose was to make sure Black men understood that I hear you, I see you, I want to understand, right? And so that was my goal just from the beginning. But as we were starting to sell Dear Black Men, we had many women come up and say, either they were married or in a relationship, and they're like, is there like a companion book? Is there a Dear Black women? And I was like, well, we don't have one yet. So we just kept taking inventory of like how many people would ask us, how consistent people would ask us about it. And even from like family members, just like, talking through their own problems and like, when you gonna do something for women? So it was just, it felt harsh at times, but it felt like a call. Like, all right, women need this. Like, you need this and you don't even know it. You need this time to sit and to love on you and to process some of these things that still might be like causing us to falter in places, right? Unhealed things that we have pushed down or somebody has caused us to push it down, or feeling silenced, right? People not believing you, stuff that you've gone through. Just the acknowledgement. There's something, I told my husband the other day, I said, I don't think I realized in the past how much I kept from someone when I didn't apologize to them.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because apology is acknowledgement. I'm saying,
Right.
I know I can't take that pain that I caused you. But what I can do is tell you that I understand and I know exactly what I did. And I'm sorry for that.
Wow.
And I have to deal with the repercussions of that. But the acknowledgement, we're leaving people out here unacknowledged. Unacknowledged, as if their feelings don't matter, as if the pain that we cause them and the consequence that comes behind that doesn't matter. And it does. Mm-hmm. And so I just, all of those things is really about acknowledgement. Some people will say, why? And when I wrote Dear Black Men, why are you apologizing to men? Because they need it, right? There might be somebody in your life that's acting like a total brat. But you know what? There's still something inside of them that they're going through too. And we have a choice. We can separate ourselves from them people, and we go and heal ourselves, and we value ourselves, and we let people know, nope, that's my boundary. Can't cross that boundary, right? But the acknowledgement, we all need to be acknowledged. No matter how old you are, acknowledgement does something, I feel like, for the soul.
Absolutely. Now, I know you kind of gave a little skip around the outskirts of it. What is actually Dear Black Man about? Give us an overview of what the book entails.
Yep. So I'll actually give you better. So there are 3 sections of the book. So in each book, there's 3 sections. So the first section is affirmations. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The first section is apologies. Apologies for different subjects. So, so one from Dear Black Women says, Dear Black women, forgive me for not respecting your right to say no. I could not handle your rejection. Ooh. And so on the other side, there are, my screen is kind of bright, there are open-ended questions. Right? So this is not a book that is for your entertainment. This is for your healing.
Got to do some work.
So the first question says, how do you feel when you read that apology? Because for some people, it might hit differently. For some people, it don't even matter, right? And we acknowledge that. The second question says, describe a time when your no was not respected. And what did you feel in that moment? And then how has this type of treatment affected the way that you interact with Black men? Right? It's to get us a little bit deeper each time to what is happening in my overall life? What's happening in my day-to-day? Can I pinpoint it, right? Another one is, Dear Black women, forgive me for making you a prisoner of my past. I could only see you through my pain. Yeah. And then there's open-ended questions to that, right? And so Dear Black Men is very similar, right? And this one is in both of them. Dear Black men, forgive me for judging you before making an effort to understand you, right? Which is very big. Dear Black men, forgive me for using your honesty and transparency as ammunition against you. That is unloving. And so it goes through those types of things. I think Dear Black Men has 10 apologies. I think Dear Black Women might have 15. Please understand there's 2 years between the 2 books. So I have learned, we have grown, we have seen what works. So that's why I said it's not that we have, more things to go through, because there's definitely could have been more, but these were for Dear Black Men, these were the most engaged with questions, affirmations, apologies. So we wanted to make sure you put those into the book. Some of the questions are things like, Dear Black Men, when's the last time you were accepted for who you are? We even go into like relationships. What were you taught about relationships when you were young? How did that help or hinder you? Right? Just getting more clear about who we are, what has caused us to be who we are at this stage in life. Like, what are the teachings, the precepts, the principles that we are are guided by that we might not even know that we're guided, or not realize that we're guided by, because we all have some type of belief. Like our actions are based on a belief that we hold. And so based on that belief, we will carry out the things, right? So if I believe that, you know, all men are cheaters, right? And I'll never have a great relationship. Well, I am going to reenact that in every new relationship that I have. I'm going to look for the things that are going to cause that to be true, because that is the thing that I focus on. And that can be true for anything, whether it's like, you know, I'm not going to have a, you know, a woman that stays with me, like whoever the person is, whatever that belief is, whatever you focus on will be. Like, that's how powerful you are. So whether you want it to come to pass or not, if you focus on it, it'll happen, right? People say things like, it's always something. That's true, because you always want something to happen. So there you go. But some affirmations like, you know, dear Black men, I respect you. Dear Black men, I accept you for who you are. Dear Black men, you are as powerful as your mindset. Your greatness of your life is up to you. For dear Black women, forgive yourself. Carry the lesson, not the pain.
Wow.
And also, dear Black women, I accept you as who you are. Dear Black women, never be afraid to clearly communicate your wants, needs, and desires. And sometimes, you know, people might look through this and like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But if we understand how each one of us is socialized, well, we can begin to understand some of the damage that is done inside of us to keep us quiet, or to keep us, you know, in a certain place and not be the fullness of who we are. And, you know, again, that's another goal, just to be our full selves. I think about a lot of like the movies and things that we watch. We're always under some type of stress. We're always looking over our shoulders. We're always just not able to be the fullness of who we are. And I just want us to be able to, one, become safe people who love ourselves, right? Who honors ourselves, and then can in turn create safe spaces. Because what would it look like if we were healed parents, right? Passing the healing on to our children, and our children being healed individuals already, right? And them having children. You know, the same way everything else passes down, we can pass down that. We can pass down that love and affirmation and healing, you know, and trust of each other and good communication.
Absolutely. Now, what's the story, the message that you want the reader to come away with either Dear Black Man or Dear Black Woman? Or since you're a storyteller, what's the story? What's the story you want them to come away with from reading these books?
I feel like, I don't know, I think the story is them. It is their story.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, it is. Thank you for setting that up before. I love it. The story is them. You are the story. How many of us like really want to dig into our story? There's so many parts of our stories that we're like, I'm not even going to talk.
For sure.
No, you're not going to get that out of me. But to acknowledge your story, because I've had traumatic things happen. And I'll be honest with you, I really never saw myself at this place. Because at those times, I was drowning in my trauma. So I can understand when people feel like this is all that there is. But to know that somebody is out there rooting for you, who loves you, and who wants you to acknowledge every part of it, right? Because I also want people to understand Dear Black Men and Dear Black Women is not the end all be all. I call it a catalyst. If this is the catalyst to help you begin looking within, if this is the catalyst to help you begin loving on yourself, if this is the catalyst to help you begin to have closure, and so that you can move forward in the fullness of who you are, then I've done my job, right? We want you to go out there, get your therapy, go see your group sessions, go see your dance sessions, whatever it is that you need to do to be the fullness of yourself. That's what we want, right? Because when I'm fully me, I'm authentic. When I'm fully me, I can show up in all of my glory, right? And that is when we can give the best of ourselves. That's the only time. We're out here piecemealing most of the time. I'm gonna give you a little bit here, but I need all of this for me, right?
Yeah.
When we have a full cup and some overflow, I'm gonna give my overflow, right? And I'm gonna keep the best parts for me and not feel guilty for that. Not feel guilty. So you are the story, and your story is valuable. Your story is necessary, and your story can also help someone else. And I will tell you right now, when I was in the midst of my trauma, I did not want to hear that. I had close people to me like, God's going to use this for something great. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But what about me? What about me right now?
And that is so true, because so many of us, when we're in the midst of going through something, it's like, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm worried about this.
That's right.
Here.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So wow.
And I acknowledge that, and I tell people all the time. But I have people come to our table sometimes, and they just be mad, and I'm like, it's okay. It's not for you today, and I respect that. It's not for you today. Because I probably would have passed this up 10 years ago. Like, nope. I don't want to hear no apologies now. No. But
talk a little bit about that really quickly. Talk about being receptive to hearing that and receiving, because if you're not in that place or that space, then you're not going to hear.
It's true. So one of the things we heard a lot when we first started promoting Dear Black Men was I got to share with a men's group one time, and they're like, I like the idea of this, but what if your partner don't want to look at themselves? And I said, well, you have to respect that, because we don't have the power to tell someone else, you better look at yourself, right? You can say what you want to, but they choose, right? Because we all like to say we have free will, so we can't impose our will on somebody else. But what we can do is be a landing space when they're ready, if we choose to be, right? If we choose to be open to hear them when they're ready, then that's the choice. But we have to respect the choice of those who aren't receptive at the time, because we're all on a journey, and they might be in their chapter 5 right now, and you in chapter 15, right? Respect where they are inside of their journey. I mean, everybody's not going to be receptive to everything. I mean, just look at the world and all of the products that's out there. Everybody's not buying the same things. But the people who are ready for it, they will get it. They will eat it up, basically. They will consume it for what they need at that time. And really that's what we're here for. I'm not here to force this down anybody's throat. This is about when you're ready. This is here.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, when I say the title, Dear Black Man, Dear Black Woman, what does that mean to you?
Visibility. It means that I want you to know that I am speaking specifically to you. Directly. There are no roundabouts. You don't have to question. It means I see you and I'm speaking to you.
Right.
And I want to say also, I was just having this conversation with my mother. These books are interchangeable. What do I mean? This Dear Black Men book is not just for men just because it says Dear Black Men. I, a woman, wrote this book from a self-reflective place. So that means I can go through these apologies and I can say, have I done that?
Wow. Yep. Absolutely.
Let me think through that. Was our conversation like that last night? Okay, wait a minute. Let me ask him how he feels. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Because if we want healthy relationships, we got to get clear.
Yeah.
We got to be vulnerable. We have to be willing to be vulnerable, right? You might hear some things you don't want to hear, but you love that person, right? Don't you want them to feel acknowledged? And the same for yourself. So are you willing to give the thing that you want? And so I would encourage any man to pick up Dear Black women, any woman to pick up Dear Black men, because I've heard from two women in particular who said, Dear Black Men changed my life.
Really? Okay.
It changed the way that I approach relationships. I saw myself in that book. I saw some of my bullying ways in this book. So I want people not to be scared to pick up books.
Right. Yeah,
We have to
no,
learn
definitely
about each
both.
other. Yeah, we have to talk. Yeah, talk to each other.
And that's the thing. Jewel, and I say this all the time, that we as Black men and Black women, we don't talk to each other. We talk at each other.
Yes.
And that's, to me, that's one of the major reasons why our relationships don't work on a bigger perspective, because we spend so much time. And if you ever notice, when they have these shows and stuff like that, when they have these panels and everything, they always either have a panel of all women or they have a panel of all men. You rarely see them bring both men and women together to talk to each other, not at each other, but have these real conversations like you're talking about, to have those real conversations. And I think part of it is because I don't think people can handle it, because like you said, I think people are so guarded that they wouldn't, to me, a lot of times they wouldn't be authentic. They wouldn't be authentic. But when you have, I think when you have those true conversations, it makes you, to me, it makes you look at you first. It's like, oh,
yeah. And you learn something you didn't know, right? I'm like, we're going into our 6th year of marriage.
Okay.
And there are conversations that we have, and I'm like, babe, that's the first time you said that. And we've had a lot of conversations, but just different situations just set you up to learn something else. And so I think that point is key, because in the beginning of our marriage, I feel like he was talking at me a lot, and he has a loud voice in general, but when he's passionate about something, he's even louder. So I would tell him, like, listen, I can't do that. I can't do the whole yelling thing. I shut down internally, and it just does something to me. And so when he started creating safe space for me, and started bringing it down some, and I started listening, even though his words were hard because I had to look at myself, it was respectful, right? It was, I am not trying to hurt you, and I'm going to tell you how I feel. So that shouldn't take out, like, saying how we feel to each other. That should be normal. And I think because we aren't socialized to talk head on about things.
Right.
And we kind of shy away from that. So when someone is checking us about something, we're like, well, what is going on? I told my husband, I said, I used to be in the crew of the Uncheckables. So
I love that. I'm telling you, you got two things. You gonna hear these two things again. That carry the lesson, not the pain. But being in the crew of the Uncheckable. I love that.
I mean, I think that's kind of how it is. You used to being pedestal to people telling you good job all the time, and when somebody tell you you're not doing something right, your world is crushed. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means there's opportunity for growth.
Absolutely.
To change something, right? To learn something different. So I feel like if we just give each other the grace to learn, to make mistakes, to cry, to be open, to be vulnerable, and be okay with that, that takes stepping stones. But as we begin to do that more consciously, I feel like we'll be able to start talking to each other more than just at each other.
Absolutely. Now, what do you think are 3 keys to understanding Black men, and then 3 keys to understanding Black women?
Well, first, I would say that for both, we are whole human beings. So we have to approach people from our humanity. Right? And I think they're not different for each person, right? We do have different things that go on with us, but I think the base is, like, we're human, We have feelings. We all want to be like acknowledged, respected, heard, and understood, right? It's the same. It's just the way that we approach it. I think we are taught so much that we're so different
Mm-hmm.
that we just like, you don't understand. You don't know, I'm not even gonna say that. You don't understand. But we don't even try.
Right.
We don't even try to say, okay, well, why do I feel like you don't understand? Well, these are the thoughts that I have about men in general. Or these are the thoughts that I have about women, and these are my experiences. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't even know to do that, because a lot of times we see TV and TV is our example, or our mom, our dad, or our guardians, or our uncle, or our grandparents were, the standard.
Right. Right.
And even in the beauty of that standard, that might not be the standard for you. That might not work for you.
Right.
There might need to be a bit more talking.
Yeah.
You may have seen your grandfather come in, hand a check to your grandmama, and everything was good, right? But there might now need to be more communication.
Absolutely.
Right? Does that work for you in your establishment? Does that work for you in your relationship? Does that work for both of you? And I think once as relationships are concerned, as we start to understand what like partnership really looks like, and that we are on the same team, like we're working towards the same goals. Like I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to break you, which was always my concern in relationships. I'm like, listen, I've been broken a couple times, and I'm not for it. So those were the things that we had to talk through in the beginning, because I'm going to be on the defense because I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to cut up.
Yeah.
But when we can talk through those things and say, listen, these are my fears around these things, but also these are my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
These are my no's and these are my non-negotiables. And being willing to walk away from those things that don't do our soul good, that don't do our body good, our mind good, like all of that. We got to be okay with saying no.
Yeah.
We got to be okay with it. We talk about this a lot, my husband and I, because we're talking about relationships all the time.
Okay.
And we oftentimes, as we get into relationships or want a relationship, we just want to be with someone. We're not specific enough.
Right.
What do you really want?
Right.
What are you afraid of not having? Have you spent that time by yourself? How much do you know about yourself? How much are you wanting your partner to know about you and read your mind about? Right? And so I feel like all of this helps us to get to know ourselves a bit more clearly, so that we can communicate our needs, that we can communicate our experiences. So I don't even remember what the last question was. Oh, no, you said 3 key things. But we're human. Yeah, we're human. We have feelings, and that we want to be heard and understood. I think that's it. And if we approach each other from that place, I think we will begin to have better interactions, because we approach each other with a blank slate. I need to learn about you. I don't know you. I need to learn you.
That is so true. And if we could, if men and women could see each other through that lens, like those three simple things.
Yeah.
Those three simple things, I think a lot of our relationships would be so much just regular, whether it's a husband wife relationship, parent to
Yeah.
child relationship,
Yeah.
or just even sibling
Yes.
relationships too. Just all those relationships. If you come to it looking at it through that lens, it'll be so much better. Because I get honestly, Joe, I get tired of hearing the narrative that men are the protectors and the providers. That's the only thing you hear.
Yeah.
You don't hear anything about what the woman's supposed. And I tell people, I said, here's the 3 things. Like you just said, those 3 things, but encompassed within those 3 things are these 3 things that to me that it's the responsibility of men and women is to both protect, both provide, and both produce. What are you protecting in the relationship? Willing to protect in the relationship? What are you providing for the relationship or into the relationship? And how are you progressing in
Mm.
that relationship? What are you doing
Mm.
to make that relationship not just work, but to be better? that
Yeah.
relationship should be growing. I don't care if it's, like I said, a parent to child, if it's a husband wife, if it's a, if it's a siblings. What are you doing to make that relationship grow? Because
Yeah.
everything that God created was created to grow
Yeah.
and to move. So we as humans should be to reproduce, and we should be doing the same thing with our
Yeah.
relationships. We should be nurturing them, and the only way that we can nurture them and progress them is, like you said, looking at them through that lens that you gave to us there. So thank
You're
you
very
for
welcome.
that. Now, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
how do you? Because we're almost finished. There's a couple more that I want to get to. I knew this conversation was going to be so good. I knew it was going to be so good. But I want you, because we're going to get kind of back to the book aspect. How do you?
Sure.
What advice would you give to an aspiring author to be able
Mhm.
to package
Yeah.
and tell that story like you're telling this story of Black men and Black women? What advice would you give them to be able to for them to tell their story or tell a
Um,
story?
yeah, I would say first of all, you need the confidence and the belief in yourself. Because if you don't have that, you're not gonna move. And understand that your story is important. Don't compare. Don't say,
Mm.
oh, there's so many others, there's something like that. Guess what? There's like 50 types of peanut butter. I mean,
Yep.
come
For sure.
on. So you are unique in and of yourself. And I put that in Dear Black Women. There is no need to compare yourself for whoever you are. There's no need to do that. If you feel the need to put it out, do it. Right? Also be open to counsel. If you know somebody who has done it already, you know somebody who knows how to format books or has worked with authors, be open to share. Like if you need some, NDAs or whatever, do your thing. But be open to share, because there's something just like this exchange right now. There's something about talking to someone else
Mm-hmm.
and hearing your own words come out of your mouth, because they might be able to spark something for you, or you just might need to hear it come out and say, you know what, maybe that's not the greatest idea, but what about this?
Mm-hmm.
So I think being able to just talk it through, and just be willing to try different things. If the first idea doesn't work, it's okay. It doesn't mean your project is done. It just means that there's another way to do it. And look at what other people have done. Only from the basis of, okay, do I want to format it like this?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a good thing? I really like the way this book was written. I like how this was made up. Is this something that I want to adapt for myself? And so in that way, I feel like other authors can be a nice guide, or that's the comparison, just
Yeah.
to see what other people are doing. But as far as anything else, it's really just about believing in yourself and just going to do it.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Absolutely. So what's next for you, lady? What you got going? What you have going on?
Man, that's a loaded question. So we're definitely, as far as books are concerned, we're definitely pushing Dear Black Women,
Mm-hmm.
making sure Black women know that it is here, that we see you, we love you, we appreciate you. You are honored, respected, and cherished. We want as many women across the country to have this book, to use it in your book clubs, to use it in your therapy groups, to suggest it to organizations that are working with women.
Mm-hmm.
Who this could be a good tool with.
Yeah,
So that's what we're
absolutely.
doing. We are targeting those who are working with Black women specifically, with a holistic health
Mm-hmm.
focus, right? Also visual storytelling stuff. So we have the screening happening in June. So
Okay.
we'll probably have a real date probably in the next couple of weeks, but it should be early June.
Mm-hmm.
And that film is called Displacia, Vacants in the Village, talking about the displacement of Black people in Baltimore specifically, but how we got here and what community is doing to help change that narrative, with land ownership and liberation and all of those things. So I'm really excited about that. And then just trying to figure out, what we want to do as a whole, as being a resource for healing, self-awareness, self-love, and really cultivating, the greatness that is within us, and changing that whole narrative of what we feel about ourselves. But it's one person at a time. And I learned that I can't shoulder everything. So I love these times where we can talk together and say, oh, okay, you're doing that over there. All right, let's collaborate.
Yep,
And I can
absolutely.
send people to you, but I feel like really being in a space of we go further together.
Mhm.
And so seeing how we can do that with the books, outside of the books, and just being a help to people, really. That's really what's up next. Just making sure we stay in alignment with our mission and just helping as many people as we can.
Absolutely. Now, how can people let people tell people how they can purchase the books and then contact you to be able to have you do, like you said, do speaking engagements or
Sure.
sessions and everything like that?
Sure. If you want to contact me directly, it is jewelguy.co@gmail.com. Jewelguy.co@gmail.com. And then in either one of the books, you can go to Dear Black Women Book, Women, plural. DearBlackWomenBook.com, DearBlackMenBook.com. It'll take you to the website, directly to the page where the book is. And if you want to peruse and get sweatshirts and all of that stuff,
Oh, you got the merch. You
that's
got the
on there too.
merch.
Just trying to, and this one has affirmations all around
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yep. So you
That's
feel
cool.
all of that,
Oh, that's dope. And
resilient,
that's the Dear
brave, that
Black
you're
Woman one.
wearing. Yep. And so Dear Black Men will be a corresponding one as well. So there'll be
Okay. Okay.
affirmations for Dear Black Men as well. So you can order
Yeah,
that
I
in the
gotta
shop
get me. I
now.
gotta get me one. You gonna have a shirt and the
Yeah.
and the hoodies?
Yep.
Yes.
Shirts are
Yes.
coming next. So we just wanted to just, be vibrant with it and just wear your affirmations. Remind yourself of how amazing, wonderful, loved, and appreciated that you are. So dearblackwomenbook.com, dearblackmenbook.com, either one of those, it sends you to the same store so you can find both of the books there. And jewelguy.co@gmail.com for direct contact.
Absolutely, Joey. This has been a pleasure. Like I told you, I mean, I knew that this conversation was going to be. You have certain conversations with certain people. You can have conversations with people, but every time that you and I have had conversations, it's always it puts you in a for me. I'm just speaking for me. It put me in such a positive vibe and good place.
Hmm.
And because you have very few conversations, you come away with like, man, I feel good now.
Yeah.
That conversation made me feel. That conversation made me feel good because you and I both know you can have conversations. You come where you just like drained. It's like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, but but having a conversation that you come away with, feeling feeling good, feeling energized,
Yeah.
and feeling better, and just the way that you make men and women feel. It is a jewel, pardon the pun,
Mm,
but it to have people, that's a gift to make people feel like that. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you and your husband are doing for men and women, because it is so needed in our society today, and we need more positive things like this when it comes to us understanding who we are and understanding the relationships that we've been in and that we will get into.
yeah,
So thank you,
absolutely.
so
So
much
well, thank you
for
for
you.
having me.
Oh no, absolutely. It has been an honor and a pleasure, and and hopefully we can collaborate and, like you said, partner and do something
Yeah.
together, because that's been my thing this year is partnerships and collaborations with individuals that are influencing. Because my mantra for this year, y'all, because we're ready to close out, National Black Unity News, y'all can go. That she is in the latest issue of she'll be in the latest issue of the National Black Unity News with the author showcase. You can go to www.tnbun.com. You can go to the website. You can subscribe, get your issue of the newspaper. You can actually also go to our Facebook page, our social media pages, the National Black Unity News newspaper. You can check out our YouTube channel, which has the other conversations. You'll see the emblem when you pull it up. It'll have the emblem there. That's how you know that it's us. But you can go there. You can see other enriching and powerful conversations like this with other authors that have been to the showcase. But Joel, I thank you for what you do, what you're doing. And I truly believe, like I said, my mantra for this year is to leave the familiar and
Mm,
elevate your influence.
mm,
And the only that I call it being comfortable with with being uncomfortable, where you're
mhm.
in a constant state of growth. And the
Yeah,
only way that you can do that is where you begin to look at self-reflection, looking at yourself,
yeah,
looking at who you are. That makes you better. It's like Jules said, it's gonna make you uncomfortable.
yep,
You're gonna have to have some conversations with yourself that
yep,
you might not want to have.
yep,
And you're going to have conversations with other people that are going to tell you some things that you may or may not like
yep,
about you. And you're
yep,
going to have to deal with that and understand that. But that's the only way that you elevate your influence. That's the only way that you become a better person, a better a better version of who you are and
yep,
everything. So, Jewel, thank you again for parting your knowledge, your information, and just the resources that you are and that you bring to the table with this. I think we're better for this. I think we're better after this conversation than we were before this conversation. So thank you for joining us on the Author Showcase. It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. Y'all know what I said. This is 2021. It's about leaving the familiar to elevate your influence. And we'll talk to y'all soon. We'll see y'all next time.